Welcome to the black and white digital image tutorial. A very interesting raft of questions have come in this week, following on in particular from previous tutorials, which of course is an absolute delight to be able to continue those conversations, those distinctions, tease them out a little more, in this case specifically devoted to our black and white images and our black and white print paths, but also begets a whole raft of other considerations. We will begin addressing some of those aesthetically based, more subjective ideals or ideas about black and white rendering, the performance of our tonal compositions and so on, but also sets us up perfectly for our next Understanding Pictures tutorial, where our tonal compositions and their meaning, what they make us feel, think or believe and so forth, which I hope you'll find interesting and at the very least somewhat helpful. Let's begin by having a look at the dot points that I've assembled so far. More or less three categories, beginning with this follow-on from this update last week to our no color managed print paths. And the question, how does this apply to black and white printing? Looking at print paths as simple as an Epson printer driver's advanced black and white print path and so on. Also the ongoing perennial question, this conversion to black and white and subsequent toning techniques. In particular, CMYK rather than RGB workflows. And I'll show you how we make prodigious use of CMYK workflows, both the toning of our black and white images, but also their subsequent printing. Then another question we have dealt with in several tutorials this year about the special metamerism index and in particular the inconstancy index. And if we're not careful in how these printed images can dramatically change their black and white appearance under different light sources, that beg the question about approaches to create an aesthetically pleasing black and white image, black and white print. Is there something beyond mere or pure subjectivity that lies buried within our Munsell color systems, our lab color models, interior design considerations, and Ansel Adams zone system that could be ideally used to establish a point of entry into a pleasing, subjectively, aesthetically valued tonal composition? Now, of course, it begs a massive number of questions, so we will properly answer that in our upcoming Understanding Pictures tutorial. But for this tutorial, it's a perfect conclusion to these other ways of rendering black and white images and what it enables us to go on and think and feel and understand and pontificate and display and so on. So that's the setup. That's where we're going for today, and seriously looking forward to your comments and your questions that come out of this. All of the things we went over in last week's tutorial about a no color managed print path means that I can, as I'm about to do, prepare an image for black and white printing and then send it through a no color managed print path, and those values will be preserved. All right, but that brings us to this next consideration, the conversion to black and white, in particular tinting and toning of those images in preparation for printing, and begs the question about a CMYK workflow. Let's have a look at this. Separation from the red, green and blue color model into cyan, magenta and yellow. Tinting and toning a black and white image. I'm going to look at two workflows. The first is, and I've scripted these to make it easier so we can concentrate on the outcomes rather than getting bogged down in the methodology, even though I will share with you how I've gone about doing this. Let's just begin by playing this action. And the first thing is our black and white conversion tool, in this case in Photoshop. It's interactive, so I can change the tonal composition by changing the percentages of red, green and blue light, maybe minus 90% blue to begin with, leaving everything else alone before and after. Now, of course, the Photoshop black and white default settings doesn't mean it's any good, doesn't mean it coheres with any luminosity formula, any aspect of the psychology of our perception, the human visual system and so on. We will come to this towards the end of today for these other aesthetically pleasing questions. But let's click OK. And now I get a series of steps, and I've toggled on these steps so you can see what is going on. And here I've automatically selected in this CMYK conversion the black channel. Now remember, cyan, magenta, yellow and black, we're talking pigments. We're talking the subtractive color system, not adding red, green and blue light. We're talking about minus red pigments called cyan, minus green light pigments called magenta, minus blue called yellow. But now I'm taking that conversion, which is the result of the cyan, magenta, yellow and black separation from the original RGB file, and I'm replacing the black channel, and in fact, using all of the black ink. And remember, I'm printing on a 10-color printer where I've got 4 black and grey inks being mixed together. I've got the full tonal composition in that black channel using all of the neutral inks. So let's click on through and I get a series of other presets, which ends up with a combined CMYK curve. I'll turn that preview on and you can see the result. Now let's go into our layers and I've got a tone curve. Let's look at the properties. I'll pull that across so you can see what's going on. There's my cyan curve, and here's my magenta curve, and there's my yellow curve, which means I now have in those separations the ability to control the amount of yellow ink in various areas of my tonal scale. For example, look at what's happening where I'm now adding or removing it from highlights. Oh my goodness gracious me. Look at what is happening to my highlights and look at what happens when I start doing this and start doing that. Oh my goodness gracious me. That's just with yellow. What about cyan? What happens if I start removing cyan? Remember, this is subtractive, so the curve is inverted. The bigger the number in a CMYK color space, the more ink, the more pigment is put down, not more light. Things get darker, not lighter. So I'm now removing and adding, and my goodness gracious me, even beginning to selenium split tone aspects of my image, and on it goes. We use these curves prodigiously in order to adjust how we control our inks in our printer to adjust the values from very neutral to beautifully warm and tinted values. All right, now that's just one way of going about this tinting and toning, separated into CMYK instructions. How much yellow ink here, there, or in the shadows we are adding or not adding in the printing through our full gamut profiles. Now, of course, this begs a serious question, and if we jump back to our dot points and questions, I've now got a CMYK image. Impossible in Capture One, impossible in Lightroom, and so on. Effortless in Affinity, effortless in Adobe Photoshop. But can I print this through my RGB print paths? And if I'm working with a magnificent professional printing application like Mirage, can I print a CMYK image through there? I can do this effortlessly through a fully fledged rip like Mega Rip, but what about Mirage? Now, absolutely no problems at all. I'll call up Mirage. Yes, the tinting and the toning is being preserved on the 17-inch roll, fit to page and so on. Yes, this can now be converted from a CMYK profile, the source, to my destination, which is via an RGB printer profile, which through Mirage is converted into 10 different overlapping ink curves in the final mix. Now let's reset this and I'll show you some other ways that we go about using the CMYK workflow. So here we have a black and white rendering. It's an RGB file. Let's run this other workflow, this black and white to CMYK print separation, as I call it. Straight away, I've converted it to a CMYK color space. We'll compare the gamuts of CMYK and RGB print spaces shortly to reassure you, where I've got individual channels. Look at this. Love the color coding in Photoshop. Let's click OK. There's my properties. You can see in the histogram the bias of my default toning which those of you who have done the black and white digital image workshop, you'll know that one of my benchmarks, intensely personal, aesthetically pleasing, from decades and decades ago, working at the speed of a dripping tap in the analog darkroom, was AGFA, Portriga Rapid Grade 2 chlorobromide silver gelatine paper developed in an acidified, highly restrained depth development with amidol as a reducing agent. And this is pretty much the color tinting toning that I received from that mercurical analog combination in the darkroom, with these warm tints and tones just beginning to peer through. Now, let's begin adjusting such considerations. Here is the yellow channel, where I can once again begin doing all manner of adjustments, adding or subtracting. Look at what's happening to the rendering of this beach, adding or subtracting how much yellow ink is or isn't being included in that mix, jumping to the cyan curve, and then adding more cyan, beginning to neutralize the toning, removing cyan from the shadows, but adding it to the midtones, controlling the amount of cyan ink that is present or not present in our print, and on it goes, providing extraordinary control of the inks coming out of our printer, even when we are, in inverted commas, printing through a RGB print path. The values are still being translated into a mix of cyan, magenta, and yellow ink, our fully color managed black and white tinted and toned print paths. So there's a whole gamut, an update, if you like, on how we go about such conversions in a CMYK color model, as opposed to just our traditional RGB conversions and tinting and toning that we go over and over in the workshop in various ways. Also showing that CMYK files can be sent through Mirage now in a fully color managed workflow, but also if you want even more control than our ink curves in Photoshop or Affinity can give us, then of course fully profiled color managed CMYK print workflows, not for proofing pre-press publications, but for full gamut printing, effortlessly and eloquently available if you so choose, and we certainly do. But to finish off, it does beg this other question. And I started the introduction today mentioning this question, which I'm going to focus on in our upcoming Understanding Pictures tutorial, because that's where I can properly prepare such a question. But it begins like this: the color wheel and color theories that describe how colors can be combined are the results of centuries and centuries of research. Can we achieve something similar for luminance values in a grayscale and associations of emotional states, aesthetic judgments, with different values in the tonal scale, creating an aesthetically pleasing black and white image? So I thought, wow, what a great way to finish these CMYK conversions, tinting and toning updates and print paths and the like, by mapping out the territory that we will investigate and thereby begin answering that question in inverted commas: what on earth is aesthetically pleasing, for example? On and on it goes. It's just a tonal composition. It's not politically charged or theologically challenged or what have you. No, it's just sensibilities. But I think it's going to be really interesting, and I can't wait to have that discussion in the Understanding Pictures tutorial in a couple of weeks. And what can we take from that to help inspire and engage and perhaps enlarge our own understanding of and interaction with our tonal compositions, particularly in relation to the black and white digital image, but also the tonal composition that lives inside every image, color or otherwise. All right. As always, wish you all the best in your adventures, especially in the magnificent, magical, mercurical world of black and white imaging, and looking forward to continuing this conversation before too long.